guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 champions for Dragon's Lair inside the game. I can't believe I haven't put out this video, but what better time to do so with the new tournament feature inside Raid Shadow Legends. So the good news or the bad news first. By the way, if you don't care about the new tournament feature or my opinion on it, go ahead and fast forward about maybe 2 minutes and we'll get into the champions. But the new tournaments, right? So the good news is a lot more books. You get the legendary book, the epic books, the rare book as well. Bad news is you have to only use rare champions. That's right. They have implemented a new tournament system where, you know, let's cut to the chase here. What is Plarium trying to do here? They're trying to get everybody, rather than having one or two kind of main teams of champions, give us a reason to level up, 6-star, you know, get artifacts on 5 champions or more, like 1 for each dungeon in every single rarity. So give us more reasons to upgrade more champions, thereby obviously spending more time in the game and spending more money in the game. So that's kind of the end goal here from Plarium's perspective. You also get books if you actually win first place. The challenge is, you know, no one has teams of every rarity set up and ready to go. It's funny, I recorded yesterday's video, the dream team of my favorite like 5 champions on a cohesive team in every rarity, and now today I see that we have to do that in the actual game, which is really, really ironic. I didn't know this was coming in this fashion. The good news is actually, this is a pretty cool feature that you have to, you know, get rewards for using all of one category. Bad news is, man, this could be really cool if it was in addition to the tournament feature, right? But now instead of tournaments right now, that sucks, man. I mean, we love tournaments in this game. I love tournaments in this game. Believe it or not, I only have 5 rares even maxed out, even 6-star, the only rares I've done guides on. So they don't actually gel together that well. So here I am farming up rare champions, which is exactly what Plarium wants me to do. Damn it. So anyway, it's cool. I like it because it gives you some things to think about, right? Like, okay, let's build a new team. What champions are good in each rarity? Did I say 2 minutes? I meant 3 minutes. Fast forward, by the way. The bad news is man, I wish the rewards were kind of as bonuses instead, like in addition to what we get. Hey, by the way, if you use all rares, you get this extra rewards, right? But don't take away what we already have. Or if this was a new feature altogether, like, you know, rarity bonuses that you just claimed as rewards instead of the tournaments. How do you guys feel about it? So I'm not incredibly happy about it, but hey, it gives me a new thing to strategize about, so I'm going to try to make the best of it. But, you know, hopefully they do, you know, the rewards are better, but hopefully they're a little bit better than that, because it's going to take a long time to grind up to get that legendary book. It's going to take I'm probably not going to be able to get it. I do have 3.5 days, but still, I haven't played one match with all rares yet. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the list here, guys, because there's actually a lot of great rare champions for Dragon's Lair. But you know what I really cringe at is when they're like all legendary challenges, and people are like, "What? I have 3 legendaries, Plarium." You know? Anyway, let's get into the rare champions, guys. I have a great list here, and I decided to include a couple champions that we haven't really talked about here on the channel as well. So let's go ahead and just start it out with, you know, one of the more obvious. He belongs pretty much on every single list that we do here in terms of rares on the channel, and that is none other than Apothecary, the High Elf champion. He's great because he's going to be adding speed to your team. He's going to be healing your team up. He's one of the champions on my team right now. And of course, he can attack 3 times on his A1. Doesn't really help you out tremendously in Dragon's Lair, but he's going to be there for support and keep your team moving faster with the speed buff and the turn meter increase on his A3. So Apothecary is going to be a main part, I'm assuming, of 99% of the viewers' rare dragon teams. He's definitely going to be a big part of my team. Let's go ahead and move over and cover another obvious here, kind of starting things out, and talk about the Dark Elves. Talk about our boy, Kael. Kael excels in Dragon, also in Clan Boss. Kael, a starting champion, the only starting champion on this list, although I should give maybe an honorable mention nod to Gaelic, but he doesn't make my top 10, probably doesn't make my top 15 to be fair, but he's not bad, you know. So anyway, Kael is good. He has a poison on his A1, small version, and the poison on the A3. He can also help you out on the waves with his A2. You guys know Kael. I'm not going to spend any more time than I need to here on Kael. You know that he's good. A lot of poisons, Against the dragon, you want debuffs, you want debuff cleansers, you want poison. That's really the things that we're looking for here against the dragon. Let's move on to the next one here, and, you know, let's go a little bit off the beaten path, a little bit here, and go back to the High Elves. And we want to talk about Eris. So, Eris is a pretty cool champion. When you first look at her, you're like, okay, she's alright, but, you know, attacks one enemy, grants an extra turn if the target is killed. Okay. Notice, by the way, look at her pretty high defense for a rare. 1035 is pretty good for an attack-based rare champion. It's actually probably one of the highest. The highest? I don't know. Anyway, she has what we're looking for here. Removes one random debuff from all allies. Debuff cleansing is going to be important on your team. Usually, depending on how, you know, god tier your artifacts are, usually just having an apothecary is not going to be enough for your team to keep them healed if you're running an all rare team, okay? And of course, if you're not running an all rare team, if you're watching this video in the future, these champions are still great to use, you know, alongside your epics and your legendaries or whatever you have, right? So, remove one random debuff from all allies, and then has a 100% chance when booked of placing the increased speed. So because she has the increased speed, it is a bit redundant to run her alongside Apothecary. So just kind of consider that, take that into consideration. If you're using Eris, you might go ahead and opt not to use Apothecary or vice versa. But she is a great option, and her passive has a counterattack when counterattack the attacker when an ally is attacked. That happens once per turn, but still a great ability. She's going to be putting out a decent amount of damage for your team and helping out quite a bit more than I guess intuitively you'd imagine when just glancing at her kit. So ally speed in dungeons by 16%. Heck, if you want to, if you have, which not many of us, most people are going to be running Apothecary and lead because it's defense and dungeons aura. But hey, if you want to run speed, if you think you have the team around her, go ahead and give it a try with Eris on her aura. So that is Eris. Let's go back. Hey man, we're just going from high elves to dark elves, high elves to dark elves. Let's go back to the dark elves, guys. Rounding out kind of the healer slash speed options that I'm going to put on this list, another kind of alternative to Eris and to Apothecary. Not that you can't run them together, but they're a little bit redundant, like we said. So she is the third option here, Hex Weaver. Hex Weaver is a great champion, again, kind of overshadowed oftentimes by Apothecary, mainly again because of his aura. But she's kind of like a pseudo Apothecary, but except for a single target heal, she's going to be healing everybody. She has a decreased accuracy on her A1, whatever. A2 heals all allies by 15% of their max HP on a 3-turn cooldown. So again, kind of an all-ally heal versus just the single target heal of Apothecary. And then the increased crit rate and an increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Not as good as the speed ability of Apothecary, but hey, if you just need the team heals, or if you don't have Apothecary, maybe you're just starting out in the game, Hex Weaver is a great option. So next up is Gnarlhorn. Gnarlhorn, a Skinwalker champion, is going to be, you know, one of the best rare supports for your team in Dragon's Lair. He's actually a pretty solid champion, again, for the main tank of your team. He is a tank. So on the A1, attacks one enemy, damage increases according to how much HP this champion has lost. He's going to be pretty low on HP because he will be tanking and has an unkillable buff too, so he'll be at like 1 HP and dealing out a solid amount of damage with his ram ability oftentimes. On his War Drum, his A2, he places a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, and then place an increased defense on himself for 2 turns. That's on a 3-turn cooldown. So again, gonna be provoking, help with the CC on all enemies. And then on his A3, places an unkillable buff on him for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. The best part about him is, especially again, if you're not running Apothecary on your team, let's say you do have Hex Weaver or Eris that we talked about, you can run him in the lead instead, increase ally defense in dungeons by 27%. That's really solid from a rare champion, and he's a champion that you just want to build up to have a bunch of HP. You don't have to worry so much about the attack. Having a little bit is nice because this can put out some decent damage, but you want to build him out to be a pretty big tanky and speedy type character, and also, you know, having a little bit of accuracy to make sure he's landing those provokes. So next up is Frozen Banshee. Frozen Banshee, I just need to pull a bunch of shards because I don't have her. I've had her in the past, but I used her as food. I'm a dummy. But I definitely want to build her out. I want to put her on my main Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss team because she's great And you know what? She only really shines in 2 areas of the game, and what I say is, who cares? You know, as long as she's great in 2 areas, that's cool with me, right? So that, for me, for a rare champion, justifies building her up to 6 stars. Anyway, Frozen Banshee has a poison if the target is under poison sensitivity on each hit, so 2 chance hit of placing the big boy version of poison on the A1. On the A2, attacks 1 enemy, fills the turn meters of all allies by 2% for each debuff on the target on a 3-turn cooldown, and then the poison sensitivity is on her A3. Attacks 1 enemy, places that poison sensitivity at 100% clip, providing you have the accuracy, which you want to build her up to have plenty of, on a 3-turn cooldown. So poison sensitivity, and then her and Kael, for example, is kind of a great duo to unleash all those poisons and the extra damage on the dragon. And then her aura is just accuracy in all battles by 35. Probably not an aura, especially in these rare tournaments, probably not an aura you're going to be using. You're going to need to go with a rare team, you're going to need to go defense like 90% of the time. I don't think there's many people out there in terms of god tier artifacts and accounts that can afford not to go the defensive or a lead for Dragon's Lair. So next up is, no surprise, Bellower. Bellower is going to help you get to the dragon in a timely manner. He has a bunch of debuffs. He has block cooldown skills, he has decreased speed, and he has decreased attack and defense on his A3. Granted, all the small versions of these debuffs, I've done a lot of guides here, 2 guides I should say, on Bellower, but we talked about him quite a lot on the channel, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him. But Bellower in stun gear, in stun artifacts, even if you don't have great stun artifacts, I recommend you guys build Bellower with, you know, high defense and really, really high speed. I'm not using him as my nuker, despite him having 3 AoEs. You'll still get by the waves. You just want him landing those stuns if you put him in stun gear. There's no better champion, really there's no better champion to put in stun gear in the game than Bellower. So I would recommend you guys do that. That's going to ensure that you survive those waves and keep everybody alive, especially Bellower, just to help out with those debuffs on the decreased attack and defense. Granted, again, the small versions on the dragon. So War Maiden was built for Dragon's Lair. She's fantastic. She's actually the champion that, as I said earlier, I'm building her out, baby. We'll do a champion guide on War Maiden, guys, because, you know, I'm going to need her now. For all these rare tournaments and stuff, I'm going to need War Maiden. I previously, you know, I've relied on Stag Knight and other debuffers in the game, Tyrell, but hey, War Maiden, she's going to be my girl. She has a poison on her A1, which is going to help out against the dragon. Again, poison does very, very well against the dragon. On the A2, just kind of a regular ability here, Opportunity Strike, and then with the increased attack on herself, and then attacks all enemies in AoE on a 3-turn cooldown with the big version of decreased defense. The Crumbling Blast is why War Maiden is so valuable as a rare champion. It's the reason that I have to build her out. You can run her alongside Bellower. Don't trust Bellower for your only decreased defense. I mean, you can trust him for your only decreased defense, but don't be afraid, I should say, to run them in tandem. War Maiden's going to help you out a lot with a decreased defense on her kit. So War Maiden is a great option, again, with the poison helping out a great deal as well. So that's War Maiden. So alongside War Maiden, marked as a great option for you guys in the Barbarian faction, she has, I'm just going to go right to her A3. I'll talk about the rest of her kit in a moment, but, you know, she is a great champion because she has on a 3-turn cooldown the big version of increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. So you build her fast enough. I mean, she's going to be taking a lot of turns. Hopefully you can keep most of your team up with the big version, again, of increased defense, and has a block debuffs buff for 1 turn. That's going to be helpful when you get to the dragon. So Totemic Power makes Marked an incredibly viable and great option in the rare category for Dragon's Lair. On her A1, decreased defense, thank you very much. I'll take that as well. So increased defense and the block debuffs, 2 great abilities against the dragon on the A3 on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, and then having the increase, or the decreased defense, excuse me, and you can see you can raise that all the way to what, 80% on the decreased defense, granted the small version on the A1. A2 is an AoE and places a decreased accuracy but debuff for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So having that AoE there is great as well. She just has a really, really kind of solid, robust kit, especially for Dragon's Lair. So you guys know how I feel about Coulthart. I love Coulthart. I think she's one of the best. She's the best rare champion. So of course she does deserve a huge mention, excuse me, to be on this list. But she just really excels on like Spider and Fire Knight, especially Coulthart. And I want to include another kind of, well, I want to include Reliquary Tender instead. Coulthart can help you out with the Heartseeker, just doing a lot of damage. But again, it's not what she's built for. I mean, she really excels against like the Fire Knight with the turn meter, full turn meter manipulation on Fire Knight. And same thing with Spiders, where she's just not that useful, obviously, against the dragon with that ability because of the turn meter. So I decided again to go with Reliquary Tender. I think she's amazing. She has the decreased attack on the A1. She has a removes all debuffs from all allies, then places a continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2. That's incredibly helpful. Again, the debuff cleanser is a great ability to have for Dragon's Lair. That makes her incredible for Dragon's Lair, a top tier option. And then she has the revival as well. Again, very rare, forgive the pun, to have a rare champion with the revival there too on a 5-turn cooldown. So she really does a little bit of everything, but really her main ability is Tender's Watch. That's what you're going to be having her on your team for. I've said it before, but she's kind of like a very miniature version of Bad Alcazar. So I'm going to end this list with Reliquary Tender, guys. Let me know what you think about the new tournaments. Let me know what champions you think that I left off this list. Man, I had so many honorable mentions. It was tough, you know. I talked about Hex Weaver, Veteran, you could use Painkeeper. There's a lot of other champions that are serviceable, definitely in Dragon's Lair, but this was my top 10. Let me know yours. Thank you for the support here on the channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.